So I might have been just a little bit toasted when I promised my buddy Dave that we could build him a podcast studio with multiple camera angles on a shoestring budget. Cameras are not turning on. Why isn't this camera turning on? Now I actually need to pull this thing together, and I'm not so sure I can make it happen. All right. Oh, whack. What'd you do with it, Max? Does that one go off?
Nope.
Oh. All right. See what I mean? I can't even hear myself. I'm Ryan Grams. I run Studio Upgrade, and we typically design high-end podcast studios. This project is actually quite a bit different because we're doing all the same stuff. I've got Raspberry Pis, I've got ATEM Mini Pros, I've got 3 mirrorless cameras, and I think it's actually going to come together pretty good, but it's still going to be a challenge. So let's see if we can make it happen. All right, we're heading to my buddy Dave Hitchcock's place. As you'll see, the space that he has is kind of limited. He's gonna need to move this thing in and out as he uses it. So, what's going on, Max? Too short? Last piece, couple stands from inventory. One. Are they matchers? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Oh, on our way. Everything, Max?
Oh, yeah.
What do we forget?
Nothing.
Okay.
Ever.
We're going to my buddy Dave Hitchcock's, who's actually related to the Hitchcock.
The Hitchcock?
Yeah. I don't remember how, but like...
Probably by blood.
Here's Dave. Use right door. Use this door. There we go. There we go.
What's up?
What's up, Dave?
How we doing?
Doing good, man.
Right on.
Where are we going? Is this it right here?
This is it.
This is awesome. What would you define as the goal here? What are you trying to accomplish?
Jeremy and I aren't necessarily tech people, so we needed something like plug and play.
Yeah.
With something that we have kind of a smaller budget for.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to spend 30, 40, 50
Yeah.
grand.
Today, my goal is to have something that's operational so you guys can at least get some hands on it,
Sure.
get a feel for it. All right, well, we're going to get to it. Any questions?
Lots, but I'm sure you'll answer.
Awesome. Let's do it. All right, you see this little plate that we have we're attaching underneath the tripod? This is actually a monitor stand, and we've just removed all 4 of the legs from it. And we're actually just using some arms and super clamps to attach it to the tripod legs. On the top of the plate, we're gonna zip tie all the different devices, and on the bottom of the plate with a stretchy mesh is gonna be all the extra cables and power supplies. So we're using this awesome tripod arm that booms, right? So you can, typically a tripod arm, this thing goes up and down. There's a little release button down here. Pop it up, and now we can put it at whatever angle we want, which is really great for getting all kinds of interesting, creative shots for video and photo. But the way we're gonna use it is put it all the way back here, and then I'm using basically like a 3/8 to 1/4-20 arm that can extend out as well, mounting that where the ball head typically would go, and this down here. And so now we have like this kind of T-shaped bar. To get the cameras on there, these two, there's gonna be 2 cameras on this side, and then a third one clamped over here. There's these doohickeys that come with this tripod. I think only one comes with the tripod. I had to get another one. But you can slide them on basically, and then clamp these bad boys down, tighten them down anyway. There we go. And here's our 1/4-21. This will allow us, of course, to position the camera in the right spot. I'm going to use this thing called a grub, which is basically a 3/8 inch bolt without a head. Just thread that in there. So now I've got a ball head on a clamp. So then I can, of course, just clamp that wherever I like say right here. So on the very end, we're going to put the 2 lights. So on this side, there we go. So this is where one light's going to go. On the other side, I'm going to use the magic arm, because this side doesn't have a 1/4-20, so I'm going to use a clamp and a magic arm. I'm going to basically thread this clamp and this magic arm. There you go. And then I have this guy, which is a little 1/4-20 rail piece. So this is a 15 mil rod, and this is a 15 mil rod actually here. It doesn't have to be 15 mil rod, but 15 mil rods kind of work as a baby pin in a pinch. One thing you gotta be careful of course, is if it's gonna wanna spin any given direction, that it's only gonna wanna spin clockwise, so it tightens itself as it spins. If gravity would want to take it counterclockwise, it could suddenly become loose and just drop, which you never want. These newer panels are great. I could just mount the panel right to the arm, but I like these guys. We've got 3 cameras. They are all the same model, but one of them is extra super special because it's white. The white one, black one, and and another black one. And the one in the middle is going to be special because the center one will also rotate. So we're going to use this awesome mount from Ulanzi. Basically, the camera just goes inside here. So this allows us to rotate the camera. And it has little stopping points at 90 degrees.
The mount I just showed you in Dave's setup has actually been discontinued. Nowadays, I'm often using this one from Small Rig, which does the same thing. It has 90-degree stops. It's got all these really nice fine-tuned adjustments you can make, so it works great with your setup.
This is kind of the roughed-in set of hardware. Got 3 cameras, rotating camera, 2 lights on either side. And these lights, of course, are just kind of our key and fill lights. Also a window here with some natural light coming in. So now we can wire it all together and make sure we have enough length of cable for everything. Let's get things wired up. All right, so each of these cameras has a dummy battery. It looks like a battery, right? But it's actually got a little PC barrel port on it. And thankfully this camera has a little flap that allows you to open that up and plug this guy right there. And this is how we're powering these cameras. You know, we don't want to be swapping batteries on these cameras constantly. That would really suck, especially since there's 3 of them. And so this allows us to plug the camera into the wall because there is no power input on these cameras. You have to use a battery. So this dummy battery allows us to take a regular old power supply and basically feed that dummy battery. This is going to be our confidence monitor. It's got 2 75mm VESA mounting spots on the back, which I love. So we found this little cheese plate, specifically VESA size, which is great. So it's 2 VESA 75 holes right there. And then we're basically just going to take a clamp and a little arm and put it all together. I'm just going to mount this bar up here. Nice thing about this too, if they're ever going to rotate and do vertical content with the center camera, they can just loosen this knob here for the arm and rotate this monitor as well. So I'm going to try to find a spot that's pretty close to that center camera without being in the shot. It's probably something like this. These monitors are great. They have mini HDMI, not full, not micro, mini, and then USB-C. You can actually, with one cable, use this as like a second monitor for a laptop with just a USB-C cable, but you can also power this with USB-C. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to power this with USB-C and then send the signal from the ATEM into the mini HDMI. The typical way that these things are hooked up is the cables basically stick out the side of the monitor, which I just think looks awful. It kind of looks like this, right? Where they're sticking straight out. I hate that. So I found these little U-shaped adapters. They basically just plug in to the side of these, and then the cables all go behind. I know it's a small thing, but I find this just to be one of those things that makes it a lot more bearable to look at. And we're gonna take the HDMI from the monitor and go to the output, HDMI out on the ATEM here. So this ATEM Mini Pro has 4 inputs and 2 different outputs. 1 HDMI output and 1 USB-C output. And that USB-C output can be used in one of 2 different ways.
The first way is to take your ATEM Mini's USB-C port and connect it to a solid-state drive like this SanDisk Extreme Portable SSD. That allows you to record your video files right onto the drive.
Or you can actually use that same USB-C and plug it into your computer.
This allows you to use your ATEM Mini Pro as a webcam. It just shows up as black magic inside of Zoom or whatever program you're using, which is really great. Of course, the downside is now I can't plug this drive in. I have to use this as a webcam or a drive. I can't do both.
The workaround is to use the HDMI out and plug that into like a cam link and use that to plug into your computer so you can use it as a webcam. Then you can still record with the USB-C port. The ATEM Mini Extreme has 2 HDMI outputs and 2 USB-C outputs. So then you don't have either of those problems. You can have a lot more flexibility. All right, what do you think, Dave? Should we turn it on, see if it works?
Fire it up!
All right, moment of truth. So far, I've got the ATEM turning on, but cameras are not turning on. Oh, there we go. Do we got a picture?
Yep.
Sweet. Why isn't this camera turning on? All right, so we've got 2 cameras working. Let's turn these lights on. Let's maybe move this center with the desk. The general idea is you want one kind of getting the whole table, and that's the center camera, so that would be this camera here. And then you have this camera looking at that side, and this camera looking at that side. You kind of crisscross. So we're going from wide shot, tight shot, other tight shot.
And the way Dave is gonna control his ATEM Mini Pro, normally you would just operate them at the buttons, but I didn't wanna have all the cameras going up to the desk since Dave's the one that's gonna be operating this. So instead, we're gonna use a Stream Deck. He'll use these buttons to change which camera is active, and he can also do graphics at the push of a button. More on that later. And the way that that's working is we've connected the ATEM Mini Pro to a Raspberry Pi. Basically just load an operating system onto a micro SD card, pop it into the Raspberry Pi, and the software that I'm running is called Companion from BitFocus. You can just download an image right from their website for free, pop it onto the SD card, and then program the buttons that will control the ATEM Mini. All of that is actually on the stand underneath the cameras, and then we just have a USB cord basically going to the Stream Deck so Dave can control the angles. And I know that sounds like a lot of information, and that's because it is. So if you think I should make a video about how to set up BitFocus Companion on a Raspberry Pi to control an ATEM Mini Pro, let me know in the comments. Or maybe I already made one, I don't know. We're gonna hook up some preamps. This is the Mic 300 from Behringer. We've got 3 microphones and we need 3 preamps for that. So you can see we've already got a couple here, but basically we just zip tie them. And if a zip tie is ever not long enough, you just connect a couple together, make these little 2/3 of a triangle shapes. Even though this is right side up, we're gonna hook it up upside down because the ports are here. So we're gonna have them just hang it down that way. That way the cords don't go up and around, they just kind of drop down. Zip tie this bad boy in here. I do have a great hot tip. Get a tool. And this bad boy has a tightening function and then a trimming function. So you want to have the trimming side facing there, and I'm first gonna tighten it. But you can overdo it. You gotta find the sweet spot for pressure. And then now I'm gonna pull this lever to trim it. There we go, so it's nice and tight. That one's already pretty tight, so I don't need to tighten anymore, but I'm just gonna trim it just like that. Quack. See, I know what I'm doing. What can I say? You know, I probably should have put the other zip tie on first and then done that. That would have been a smart way to do it. So I did that on purpose to make a point. What are you laughing at, Max? Zip tie 1, there we go. Zip tie 2, and then tighten. I think Max is laughing mostly because he did a great job hooking up the first 2, and I'm just hooking up the 3rd one to pretend like I hooked up all of them, but really I didn't. This thing actually gets it way tighter than you can with your hands, and I forget that, so I often try to overdo it when I'm tightening them down, and they don't need to be as tight as you could, because what happens then is they just break, of course. There we go, look at that. That ain't going anywhere. So, let's talk about power real quick. There's a lot of things plugged into this. I love these little guys. I call them squids, especially when we've got bricks like this. And again, we happen to have 3, and you can get them in all shapes and sizes. You can get 1 up, 2 up, 3 up, and not. Well, I suppose, yeah, a pigtail is just like 1 power cable, like a little 6-foot extension cord, if you will. Those are handy for bricks. But I also like these 3-ups, so I can have all 3 of the preamps on 1 pigtail. We call them squids. There's probably a technical term, I don't know what it is. So obviously a lot of cords going on here, but the whole idea is it's not about being pretty. I mean, we do try to make it pretty, but we want to have everything contained in this tripod. For the mics that we're using, which are the Rode VideoMic Pro, Rode VideoMics rather. With the Rode VideoMics, a good starting point, if I recall, we'll find out in a moment, is right around 3 o'clock for both gain and output. And we don't need phantom power, that's 48 volts there, so we can turn that off. Sometimes we'll have the limiter on, especially if I know I'm not gonna be here to keep an eye on the levels. Limiter is gonna just clamp the levels down just a touch if they get too loud. Dave here likes to laugh, and laughter is loud. You wanna give us a sample laugh? See what I mean? I can't even hear myself. So I'm gonna turn the limiters on. And the way that we have these connected to the ATEM, because there's 2 microphone inputs on the ATEM, and you're like, hey, you got 3 microphones, how are you doing that? Well, they're 2 stereo inputs. So we're taking and plugging them in via, I have one of these sitting over here still. What'd you do with it, Max? Oh, here it is. Basically, the preamp has an analog, hang on, got a cloth? Oh, there we go. The preamp has analog 1/4" or XLR outputs. So we're gonna use the 1/4", which is just a standard positive, negative, ground, hot, whatever. It has an analog mono signal coming out of each preamp. And then this is a left and right mono Y cable that goes to a stereo 1/8". So you can see the extra ring there, TRS, tip ring sleeve, versus just tip sleeve. So that means we're actually sending 2 audio signals over 1 cable that's sharing the ground. We can actually plug 2 preamps into 1 of the inputs here. And so we have 1 dangling, and I've got a little condom on this guy, so it's not, you know, we're not gonna get any interference. But if they ever wanted to add a 4th channel, this way they could. I think condom's the technical term for this. When you say, does this look like, it's like a Dave-sized condom, I think, right?
A little bigger than that.
A little too big? Yeah. All right. So here we go. We've got the two channels. I only need this one. There's an input and an output. So we have input, it says here, XLR, quarter inch, XLR. Of course, I don't want to go into the input with this. This is the output. So I'm going to plug into the output of that. And then the microphones, right here with the XLR, we're going to plug into the inputs. So we're going in via the XLR, out via the quarter inch. And let's look at the meters here. It's working. And yeah, I've done that already on the other program. Okay, so now let's turn this thing on. Got lights, and we're gonna have everything on all the time so that when you just hit the one switch on the power strip, that'll hopefully turn everything on. Now, the caveat with these cameras that we're using, these are the Canon M200s, which I think have great price to value ratio, whatever you want to say there. You know, they're not terribly expensive, but you still get a pretty good quality out of them. The one downside is though, there's no physical on-off switch. There's a button. Every time you want to use these cameras, you got to press the button to turn them on, which is a bummer. There are other cameras out there that don't have that requirement. This is not one of them. And let me show you this camera here specifically. A lot of these little mirrorless cameras need us to change a setting in order to get what's called a clean HDMI feed, meaning we don't want to see any of the graphics or the menus or any of that kind of stuff on top of the video. We just want the straight video feed going directly into the ATEM Mini Pro. On the Canon cameras, what we're looking for is a menu called HDMI Info Display. And the default setting is with info or off, meaning it's not clean. It's just you're gonna see all the graphics, the menus, everything. We want to set it to clean FHD output. When you turn that setting on Canon cameras, most often that means you can't also record. So you're kind of disabling the record function. You're just getting a clean output, which in this case is exactly what we want. But here with Dave's setup though, when we turn the camera back on, because the cameras hadn't been powered on for a while, the dates had been reset. And there's this weird, stupid little bug where if the date needs to be set again, the HDMI info display setting actually is kind of temporarily overridden by the need to set a date. So we don't see the output of the screen just flashes black for a second. And if you look at the output for the ATEM, we see set the date. The easiest way to fix that, unplug the micro HDMI cable and press OK to set your date and time. It doesn't even matter what you set it to because all we need is the output from the camera. And then plug the cable back in and you're back up and running. These screens though, there's no way to tell them to stay on indefinitely. They always will shut off after half an hour. That's the longest you can have them set to. But that's one of the reasons we have this monitor here. We can see our signal. And that way when we're switching between cameras, hey, ooh, ooh. There we go. Yeah, I think we're at the point. Let's do it. Let's kill the room lights. Turn these bad boys up a little bit. We're sharing this setup with a window. It's a small window, but it's still a window, and that's gonna be pretty cool light. So we're gonna keep these at 5600 or so. I'm gonna start at 50% brightness. Dave, you wanna take a seat?
Yep.
And so let's look at the lighting here for a moment. We've got these two, which is our key and fill lights, and then we added just earlier today, these are our edge lights, and we mounted them to the ceiling. We've got them wired up all to one. Got a little strip over here to turn the edge lights, both of them on and off, and the power cords go into the ceiling and down over there. It's really nice. So the cord is being fed into this really cool arm. You want to have a little bit of slack here. And it's very easy, I'll twist this up for the sake of demonstration, to spin this and have it rotate, and that pops off and it's just like a whole mess. So you just got to be aware that you're not tying this part into knots. And this is just held on by magnets. So it just slides right back in. What you want to do is make sure that you're not twisting this ever. You'll be able to get like maybe one twist before things start going wrong. You could put up more slack there, but then it looks dumb. And you've got a knob here and a knob here to tighten and loosen. You know, like if I loosen this just flops here and can go like this. But if you have it like not super tight, but kind of tight, you can still kind of move it without having to tighten and loosen it. Yeah, and like you could, with that, you could probably just crank this. You could probably just push this down if you want to be lower, you know what I mean? Okay. And then this here, there's two knobs for the mic. Yep. If you loosen this, you can, but again, like you just get it kind of decently tight and then you can kind of just move it where you want it. Got it. And what you want to have, guys, is you want the mic aiming at your mouth and you want to kind of eat the mic, you know? And yeah, you could, like Dave, you could have it a little lower like this if you wanted and have it pointing up at you if you want to see more of your face. Now the cherry on top, whenever we're building one of these studios, is adding the graphics. So we can hit a button and have a title graphic just show up right on screen. The trick though is not everybody has a graphics package pre-built for this podcast that they're trying to launch. So I didn't want to leave him with nothing though. I said, hey Dave, what do you think is a good name for your show? And he had the suggestion of The Death of Real Estate. So I said, hey, let me just hop into ChatGPT where we just whipped
whipped up a graphic real quick, brought it into Photoshop, made a transparent version where we can have his name and Jeremy's name on the bottom there, and we gave him 2 graphics so he had a button to press to have those show up on screen. I love doing that, and if you're interested in that whole process, check out this video here where we'll go into more detail on exactly how we did that. All right, now that we've added a graphics package to the studio, we're finally ready to hit record.
What was the origin story for wanting to get a podcast studio up?
It's always been something that I've been intrigued by. There's a lot of stuff happening and changing and shifting in our industry, financing and buying and selling, how technology's been integrated into our industry over the last 10 years, and just kind of educating buyers and sellers on what you should be paying for and what you don't need to pay for.
Yeah, how about you, Jeremy?
Dave and I always seem to laugh and have a lot of fun conversations. And so people always have told us we should do something like this.
We're clowns. So, you know.
I mean, I think it'll be a great tool, and having you here to help us get it set up so good is huge because, man, you're awesome. Getting all this done we would have never been able to do this without you. So we appreciate you a lot.
Thank you. This
would have been a crash and burn on iPhones.
Hey, I was going to say, like, why not just set up your phone and try to do a podcast?
Oh, that's ridiculous.
It would be the death of our podcast.
It'd be the death of real estate.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I could talk all day about why I think cameras and lights and all that stuff is important. But I mean, what from you guys, what was different about the tech side of things, having me pull a bunch of gear specifically for what you guys are talking about with, budget and all that kind of stuff in mind? Why not just do it with your iPhone?
The same reason why when we meet a seller who says, why don't I just sell my house myself? Like, well, you can, and the technology is there for you to do it, but odds are you're going to run into some issues you didn't think about, and it's going to be stressful, and it probably won't be as good as what it could be. We can help you get that done. And I think that, we recognize that. We're able to have you come in and get us set up.
And I see you're doing it right now. You got the switcher.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning the Stream Deck right now.
That's kind of special here, right? Most podcasts have to have a crew. Does it require a crew for you guys to run this thing?
Negative. Nope. So what we told you is that we wanted something that we can do ourselves, that is stationary, that it's all encompassing. Flip a switch, turn it on, and we're ready to roll. And that's what you gave us here. This is pretty awesome.
The cool thing about this is everything is literally built onto that tripod.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's what you're saying, right? You want to be able to pick it up and be in a different spot potentially. And
we know that our business and the podcast is going to evolve. And so we need something that can evolve with us.
That's great. And how do you feel about the buttons? What's going on there?
Here, let me see if I can.
There we go.
There we go. So yeah, it's called a Stream Deck, right? So all of these, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is that? 5. So 15 buttons on here. They're all programmed by Ryan. We got our mics. We can turn on and off. If Jeremy's saying something I don't like, I can mute him.
Right here, guys. That'll happen a lot.
We got 3 buttons down here for Jeremy, Wide, and Dave. So I can easily, at the click of a button, just hit Jeremy, Wide, and Dave. We can also have picture in picture. I can share with you guys what we're looking at.
Yeah, and the cool part is you can easily program it. Like you said, Ryan, you can take this and you can wipe it clean for our podcast and create a whole new setup just by us clicking a button.
Yeah.
So I can have my podcast, he can have his, and then we can have our shared, and all we got to do is flick one button between all 3 of them.
Something else too is like, this is our career. We're real estate. This is how we provide for our families. Whatever we're doing, we want it to look and sound and be professional. And so that's why I didn't want the iPhone set up. That's why I didn't want to order a $500 package off of Amazon. And this is what you do full time all the time.
And he's good at it.
Yeah. And I've seen what you've put together, and I know, just by following you on Instagram and just being friends with you and seeing your studios before, I just like, yeah, this is what we want. It needs to be this level, not,
Yeah, I've had one client say that it was akin to showing up to a meeting in a nice suit, right? This represents, especially to someone, prospects that you haven't ever met potentially, you know what I mean? This might be the first way that they see you guys. Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for trusting Max and I to come over here and get this set up. We did it!
thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you being here. I cannot wait to see what Dave and Jeremy put together for their first few episodes of their podcast. Please, please, please like, subscribe, share, all of that. Hit that little bell, whatever, all that good stuff. And I think right about now is when some of the other recommended videos of mine are going to pop up on screen here. So, I'm just going to stand here while I wait for you to click on some of these. Let's see. I need about 20 seconds worth. Okay. I'm just going to smile. I can turn around. Is that better if I just